New Oxford Modern English Book, Class 6, Chapter The Wolf Children, Part 2. Question Answers with Explanation. Words to know. Meaning. Crouch. To squat down on the balls of the feet with knees bent and body hunched over. जैसे छोटे बच्चे क्रॉल करते हैं उस तरीके के चलने को क्राउच बोला जाता है. ईर. फ्राइटनिंगली स्ट्रेंज एंड वियर्ड, एकदम डरावना और बहुत खराब सा. मौन टू बी सेड स्पेशली बिकॉज समवन हैज डाइड, बहुत उदास होना तब जब किसी की डेथ हो गई हो. पैथेटिक, क्रिएटिंग अ फीलिंग ऑफ सैडनेस, बहुत बुरी हालत होना, बेचारगी की पोजीशन होना, दैट इज पैथेटिक. Comprehension. Answer the following question. Question number 1. Was Mrs. Singh surprised by the children, and how do we know? Yes, we know this because Mrs. Singh has never seen children like these before, and she could also hardly believe her eyes as she watched the wolf children. यहाँ बिफोर में ई चाहिए. B. How did the two children move about? Answer. The wolf children had thick, rough skin on their hands, knees, and elbows because they moved on all fours. When they wanted to go a short way, they used their knees and elbows. But when they wanted to run, they would travel by using their hands and feet. जब ये जो वुल्फ चिल्ड्रन थे वो किस तरीके से चलते थे, तो अपने हाथों पैरों पे, दोनों पे, चारों पे मिला के, और जब उनको दे वांटेड टू गो, थोड़ा सा रास्ता चलना रहता था तो नीज और एल्बोज पे चलते थे, पर ज्यादा रास्ते वो चारों यूज करते थे, हाथ पैर. Why did the children drink milk? By lapping it up with their tongues. The wolves lapped the milk. And as the children stayed with the wolves for a long time, so they also lapped the milk. वो ऐसे चाट के दूध क्यों पीते थे? क्योंकि वो वुल्फ्स के साथ रहे थे और वुल्फ इसी तरीके से दूध पिया करते थे, इसलिए. In what ways did the children behave like animals? The children behave like the wolves can be shown by the following. ये काफी बड़ा आंसर है, इसमें से आप 2 या 3 पॉइंट्स भी लिख सकते हैं. The wolf children had rough skin on their hands, knees, and elbows because they moved on all fours. When they wanted to go a short way, they used their knees and elbows, but when they wanted to run, they would travel using their hands and feet. Second, Mrs. Singh gave them each a dish of milk, which they lapped up with their tongues. When she tried to touch them, they growled and snapped at her hands. जब वो अपने दूध भी वुल्फ्स के जैसे पीते थे और जब उसको टच करने की कोशिश की जाती थी तो वो घुर्राने लगते थे वुल्फ्स के जैसे. Third, when Mrs. Singh tried to give the girls their first bath, the orphanage echoed with their howl. जब उस पहली बार उनको नहलाने की कोशिश की मिसेस सिंह ने, तो पूरे ऑर्फनेज में उनके चीखने चिल्लाने की आवाजें, गुर्राने की आवाजें आने लगी. For weeks they ignored the games and laughter of the children. Instead, they preferred to crouch in the shade or stand motionless with their faces to the wall. Only at night did they become active. वो दिन के टाइम पे बच्चों के गेम्स और खेलने को इग्नोर करते थे. वो एक जगह पे सिर्फ छुप के क्रॉल करते रहते थे, एक जगह पे शेड दीवारों की तरफ मुंह करके खड़े रहते थे, और रात के टाइम पे एक्टिव हो जाती थी. They would howl easily or hurl themselves at the walls in an attempt to escape. और अपने आप को वो जोर जोर से टकराती थी दीवारों से वहां से निकलने के लिए. They would only feed like wild animals, taking raw meat and liquids, which they would eat and drink in the crouching position. वो सिर्फ वाइल्ड एनिमल के जैसे ही खाया करती थी, जैसे बिना पका मीट और कुछ लिक्विड्स. When Mrs. Singh gave Amla and Kamla twice to play with. They simply chewed them as if they were bones. जब उनको खेलने के लिए खिलौने दिए गए तो वो भी उन्होंने चबा चबा के फेंक दिए जैसे कि वो हड्डियां हों. Whenever the people went near them, they snarled and arched their backs, shaking their heads backwards and forward. When they decided to play with him, they treated him like a wolf cub. और जब वो बच्चे उनके साथ खेलने की कोशिश करते तो वो उनके साथ वैसे ही खेलते जैसे कि वुल्फ कप के साथ वो लोग खेला करते थे. यहाँ पे these are the various points which are related to this question. Some of them can be written. What did the Singhs decide to do and why? The Reverend Singh decided that the discovery of the children should be kept a secret. They did not want the people coming to see them out of curiosity and disturbing the girls. वो जिस बच्चों को खोज उन्होंने लाया था रेस्क्यू करके वो सीक्रेट रखना चाहते थे क्योंकि वो नहीं चाहते थे कि भीड़ उनको देखने के लिए आए और उनको डिस्टर्ब करे. Why did the girls become active only at night? As the animals becomes active only at night and the wild animals becomes active only at night, the children stayed with the animals from a very long time, so they become active only at night. Did Kamla missed her sister and how do we know? Yes, Kamla missed her sister. We know this by the lines from the chapter. The Kamla, the younger wolf girl's death was a terrible setback. She howled for many days and refused to eat. All she would do was sniff around for the amla scent. काफी दिनों जब कमला अपनी बहन को मिस करती थी, इस चैप्टर में जो दिया गया है कि वो चीखते हाउल करते रहती थी, रोते रहती थी, चिल्लाते रहती थी उसकी जो सिस्टर है, और वो कुछ भी खाना नहीं चाहती थी और वो इधर उधर सूंघते रहती थी सिर्फ आमला की स्मेल को पाने के लिए. How long did it take Kamla to learn about 50 words? It took Kamla nearly 9 years to learn about 50 words. Why did Mrs. Singh had to leave the orphanage? Mrs. Singh was forced to leave the orphanage for several weeks. Her aunt was seriously ill because her aunt was seriously ill. What was the important thing that Kamla learned? Kamla had learned something more important than how to walk and talk. She had learned how to love a human being. Difficult question. Do you think the story is true? Give reason for your answer. Yes, as years and dates are given, which indicates the story is true. Next question. From what you have read, what qualities would you say the Singhs possessed? And find examples and give reasons to justify your answer. Mr. Singh was a kind man who brought wolf children in his home, and he admitted the 2 children in the orphanage along with the other children. Mrs. Singh was loving, caring, and a kind woman. Due to Singhs, the wolf children began to develop human tendencies and behavior into the children, and she attended to them most personally. Mrs. Singh attended to them most personally and wanted the wolf children learn that they are humans. So in front of them, she used to play with other children. The Singh gave the name to the wolf children, the younger Kamla and the younger Amla and the elder Kamla. Use words and phrases from the passage to complete this sentence. When Mrs. Singh first saw the wolf children, she could hardly believe her eyes. Reverend Singh decided to keep the discovery of the children a secret. News of the wolf children spread through Midnapur. The wolf children did not play with other children. They preferred to crouch in the shade. For the 2 girls, it was more natural to behave like wolves. Kamla's leg was massaged so that she could stand upright. When Mrs. Singh left the orphanage, Kamla went back to her old ways. Every night, the Reverend Singh spent some time writing up his notes. Verbs: to succeed, opposite, to fail, to hinder, means to hide, to something difficult for someone, to something, to help, opposite. Third, to oppose, opposite, to support, to increase, to decrease. Noun, amateur, 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 professional, arrival, departure, danger, safety and safe, lies, truth, wealth, poverty, poverty, adjective, common, opposite, rare, negative, positive, delicate, ड्यूरेबल और हार्डली, स्टेल मतलब बासी, फ्रेश, उसका अपोजिट, टीम, अपोजिट, वाइल्ड, एवरीवेयर, नोवेयर, फास्ट, स्लो, फ्रिक्वेंटली, इनफ्रिक्वेंटली, अर्ली, लेट, ऑलवेज, नेवर.